Bury her. Bury her deep, where nobody will find her. That is what they said. That is what they did. Two sisters. One whole. And a girl who never raised her voice against anyone. But here is what those two wicked women did not know. You cannot bury the earth. You cannot put the soil back into the ground and tell it to stay quiet. What they pushed into that hole was not just their sister. It was something ancient. Something that had been waiting for a reason to wake up. And now it had one. Let's go back to how it all began. But before I tell you how it all happened, please subscribe, like, and drop a comment below. This keeps me going and it keeps these stories alive. Also, I would love to know where in the world you are watching from. I read every single one. Now sit down, take a breath, and let me take you back to where the story really begins. In the village of Audrey, the trees were so tall they blocked the sun before noon. The people there had a saying, "The forest does not belong to us. We belong to the forest." It was a village built between two hills, and in the valley between them ran a river so old the elders refused to give it a name. They only called it the one who was here before us. The houses were made of red clay. The roads were dark soil packed hard by the feet of many generations. Women carried water on their heads without spilling a single drop. Children played in the dust until the evening drum called them home. Life was simple, but it had its own kind of beauty. In one of those red clay houses lived a farmer named Dobby and his wife Yolanda. They had 3 daughters. The 2 eldest were named Kosi and Remy. The youngest, born in the rainy season, was named Isle. Isle. A name that means home. A name that means the earth beneath your feet. And from the very first day she drew breath, the forest seemed to know her name. When I was born, something strange happened. The midwife said that during the delivery, the floor of the hut became soft and warm, like freshly turned soil, even though it had been dry for weeks. Green shoots, thin as threads, pushed up through the cracks near the doorway. They were gone by morning, but the midwife never forgot them. As all grew, the signs continued. Everywhere she walked, the ground responded. A path she took every morning to fetch water. Within a week, small yellow flowers grew right in her footprints, one by one, like a trail of tiny suns. Animals came to her without fear. Lizards sat on her shoulders. Birds landed on the top of her head, as if she were just another tree. She was not trying to be special. She was just Isle. She helped her mother cook. She helped her father carry bundles from the farm. She swept the yard and sang to herself in a low, quiet voice. When she sang, the leaves on the trees near the house would shift and flutter, even when there was no wind. The village people noticed. They spoke in low voices. "The Orishes have marked this one," they said. "The earth's spirit lives inside her." Her parents were proud but careful. They did not want to make her sisters feel small. But envy does not wait to be invited. It walks in through any door left open. Kosi was the eldest. She was 20 years old, tall, and beautiful in the way that sharp things are beautiful, striking, but capable of cutting. She had been the pride of the family for years. When she walked to the market, heads turned. Gifts came to the house for her. Men asked her father for her hand. She had everything, but she did not have what all had. No one could explain it. No one brought flowers for Kosi. No one left food at their doorstep because of Kosi. The elders did not watch Kosi walk past with that quiet, wide-eyed reverence. It was always Isle. Always the youngest. Always the quiet one who had not even tried to take anything. Remy, the second sister, was 22 and already married, but she had come back to her parents' home after a quarrel with her husband. She was bitter in the way that unhappy people are bitter, spreading her sourness like a cloud that darkens every room she enters. These 2 sisters talked at night when everyone was sleeping. "Have you seen how Mother looked at her today?" Remy said one evening. She was braiding Kosi's hair near the dying fire, like she is looking at something sacred. "Father is the same," Kosi replied. He kept Isle beside him all evening while he spoke with the elders.
"He used to do that with me."
"It is not fair," Remy said. "We were here first. We worked harder. We suffered more. And now the baby comes and takes all the light." The fire crackled. Shadows moved on the wall. "She thinks she is something special," Kosi said quietly. Her voice was flat and cold. "Let's show her how special she really is." The cruelty started small, the way all terrible things do. Isle would wake up to find her morning chores doubled. Her share of evening food went missing. Her good wrapper, the one their mother had given her for a festival, disappeared and turned up on Kosi's body 3 days later. When Isle asked about it, Kosi looked at her like she had said something foolish. This has always been mine. You are confused, little girl. Al did not argue. She had learned early that arguing with those who have made up their minds is like arguing with a locked door. She simply went quiet. She went back to her corner. She did her extra work. She sang her low songs. She kept her eyes to the ground. But keeping your head down does not stop the rain from falling on you. One afternoon, Al was behind the house grinding pepper. Remy came and stood over her. She looked down at her with the particular disgust of someone who has decided they hate you but wants to pretend they need a reason. You were talking to the farmer's son again this morning, Remy said. I saw you. He greeted me on the path, Al replied. I greeted him back. Remy struck her across the face with an open palm. The grinding stone knocked over. Red pepper went flying into the dirt. You do not greet men on the path, Remy said, her voice shaking with an anger that did not belong to the moment. You think you are a woman now? You think men will look at you? Isla's cheek burned. Her eyes filled, but she did not cry out. She looked up at her sister. Her eyes were steady. And that steadiness, that refusal to be broken, made Remy angrier than any words could have. That night, both sisters agreed. Small cruelties were not enough. They needed her gone. They chose a morning when both parents had gone to the next village for a naming ceremony. They would be gone until nightfall. Kosi came to Isle with a sweet face. It was a face Al had not seen in a long time. It was almost the old Kosi, the one from before everything turned sour. Come with us today, Kosi said. We found something beautiful in the forest. A tree full of ripe ube fruits, deep purple, falling right from the branch. Mother will be so happy if we bring some back for her. Al hesitated. Something in her chest tightened like a rope being pulled. But she looked at her sister's face, that almost kind face, and she thought maybe this is a new beginning. Maybe they have decided to stop. She picked up a basket. She followed them into the trees. They walked for a long time. Further than any ube tree had any reason to be. The forest grew thicker, and the light grew thin. Vines crossed the path like arms trying to block the way. Al felt the ground under her feet growing strange, not soft, but aware. As if the earth was listening. Where is this tree?
Al asked.
Just ahead, Remy said. She was smiling at the back of Al's head in a way that was not a smile at all. They came to a clearing. In the middle of the clearing was a wide, dark hole. It was deep. Even in the daylight, you could not see the bottom of it. Al stopped walking. Every part of her body told her to run. But it was already too late. Both sisters came at once. 2 pairs of hands. 1 big shove. And then the world went dark. Al hit the bottom hard. The air left her lungs. Pain shot through her side. She lay still for a long moment, and above her, she heard the sounds of branches being dragged. Leaves and soil raining down. The circle of light above her, the only sky she could see, grew smaller and smaller. Stop, she screamed. Please. I am your sister. But the light disappeared completely. And the voices of her sisters faded away into the trees. Silence. Deep, cold, total silence. Al sat in the dark for what felt like a very long time. She cried until she had no more tears. She called out until her voice was raw. Nobody answered. Then the ground beneath her hands began to feel different. Not cold anymore. Warm. Gently, slowly, unmistakably warm. A soft green light appeared. Not from above. From below. From the walls of the pit. From the roots she had not noticed running through the dark earth around her. Long, thin roots, reaching in like fingers, beginning to glow faint and soft as fireflies. Al pressed her back against the wall. Her breath came fast. Do not be afraid, child. The voice did not come from any particular direction. It came from everywhere. It was low and vast, the way a river sounds when you put your ear against the ground beside it. Who are you? Al whispered. You know who I am, the voice said. You have always known. Every time you walked barefoot on the wet earth in the morning. Every time you pressed your hands into the soil and felt it press back. I am the one who grew flowers in your footsteps. I am the one who kept the ground warm under your sleeping mat. I have been waiting for you to come down to me. Isla's eyes were wide. The roots around her were glowing brighter now, green and gold, threading through the walls of the pit like veins of living light. You are Ally, the voice said. You are the earth spirit. You were born into a human family because the earth wanted to know what it felt like to love and be loved by people. But people do not always know what they hold. Sometimes they bury their greatest gifts without knowing what they have done. The warmth surrounded her. The roots reached toward her hands. You were all the girl, the voice said very gently. Now it is time to become what you were always meant to be. And the earth held her. And the earth filled her. And the earth taught her every secret it had kept since the beginning of time. Nobody in the village of Audrey was prepared for what happened 3 days after Isle was buried. The first sign was the ground. It cracked. Not in the way dry ground cracks in a drought. It cracked like something was pushing up from underneath. Green shoots tore through the middle of the main road. Flowers burst out of the walls of houses, growing through the dried clay as if the clay were nothing but soft cloud. Trees that had stood bare for seasons suddenly exploded with leaves overnight. The second sign was the forest.
It moved.
Not all at once. But the trees nearest to where Al had been taken leaned inward toward the village. The roots shifted. Old women swore they heard something walking through the deep bush. Heavy footsteps.
Slow.
Deliberate. Getting closer. The third sign was the clearing. Where the pit had been, there was now a tree. It had not been there before. It was enormous, wider than 3 men standing with their arms outstretched, taller than any tree in the forest. Its bark was dark and smooth. Its roots spread outward across the clearing in every direction like an old woman spreading her arms. Its leaves were broad and deep green and caught the light in a way that made them look like they were breathing. And from the center of that tree, where the trunk divided into 2 great branches high above the ground, a figure stepped out. She walked down the trunk the way a person walks down a staircase. Unhurried. Upright. Her feet bare on the bark. Her skin was the color of dark rich earth after rain. Her hair moved like living vines, each strand threaded through with small green leaves and glowing roots. Her eyes, when she opened them fully, were the deep amber gold of old tree sap. She was Isle. And she was not. The first person to see her was a young boy fetching firewood at the edge of the forest. He dropped every stick he was carrying and ran back to the village screaming, "A spirit! A spirit has come out of the forest." By the time the villagers gathered, she was already walking down the main road. Slowly. Her feet on the earth made no sound. But everywhere she stepped, a flower bloomed instantly and perfectly, the way things bloom only in dreams. People fell back. Some ran. Some fell to their knees. A few old women began to weep, recognizing in her something they had only heard about in the oldest stories their grandmothers told. "Ali," they whispered, "the earth herself has come." She did not go to the elders first. She did not go to the shrine. She walked directly, quietly, to the house where her sisters lived. Kosi and Remy were in the yard, completely unaware. Kosi was oiling her hair. Remy was quarreling with the woman next door about a borrowed pot. Their parents had returned from the naming ceremony and were inside the house. They did not yet know Al was missing. The sisters had told them she had gone to spend the week with a friend in the next village. The shadow fell over both sisters at the same time. Remy noticed first. She looked up and went completely still. The pot argument stopped mid-sentence. Kosi felt it in the air before she turned, a weight, a presence, the way you feel when something very large and very old is standing close to you. She turned slowly. Her oil calabash fell from her hand. "Isle," Kosi breathed. Her face had gone gray. The figure looked at her. Those amber eyes were not angry. They were something much harder to face than anger. They were knowing. They saw everything. The whispering at night, the stolen wrapper, the pepper grinding and the slap, the basket and the long walk, the hole, the hands, the darkness. They saw all of it, clearly and completely, the way the earth sees all things that are buried inside it. "You buried me," Al said. Her voice was low, like the sound deep roots make when they split rock. Neither sister moved. A crowd had gathered at the gate of the yard. Parents, neighbors, elders, children. Everyone watching, barely breathing. Isle's mother pushed through. When she saw Isle saw what Al had become, she put both hands over her mouth. Her legs stopped working. She had to be caught by the woman beside her. "My child," she whispered. "My child, what did they do to you?" Al turned to her mother. And for a moment, just a moment, she was only Al again. The youngest daughter. The one who helped cook and carried water and sang the low, quiet songs. Her voice softened. "I am still here, Mama," she said. "The earth kept me safe." Then she turned back to her sisters. Kosi's legs finally gave out. She dropped to the ground in the dust. "Please," she said. "I did not know. I swear to you, I did not know what you were." Al was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "And that is the saddest part of all of it. You did not need to know what I was. You only needed to know that I was your sister. That should have been enough. Remy began to weep loudly. She threw herself forward, pressing her forehead into the soil. I will do anything, Remy cried. Anything. Please do not curse us. Please do not destroy the village. I am sorry. Al looked at the ground around her sister's feet. The earth was cracking slowly. Not violently, but deliberately. Small roots were reaching up through the cracks, curling around the sisters' ankles, holding them in place.
Not harming them.
But not releasing them either. The forest listened. The village held its breath. An elder man stepped forward. He was the oldest man in Audrey, a man who had seen many things. He addressed the figure that had once been Ili the girl. He spoke slowly, carefully, the way one speaks to the truly powerful. Ili, spirit of the earth, we ask for your mercy. These women are foolish and they are wicked, and they will live their whole lives with the weight of what they have done. But the village is full of people who have done nothing wrong. Children who have never harmed you. Old people who are waiting to return to your soil. What is your judgment? Al looked at the elder. Then she looked at her sisters. She was quiet for a long time. I will not destroy the village, she said finally. The earth does not punish the tree for the rot of one branch. Relief rippled through the crowd like wind through grass. But these two, she said, and her voice was very calm, will remain on their knees. The roots held tighter. Not hurting, just firm. Every morning for 1 full year, Al said, they will come to the clearing where the great tree stands. They will tend the earth there. They will water it, weed it, and keep it clean. Not because I need it, but because they need to learn that the earth is not beneath them. It is what holds them up. It is what feeds their children and buries their dead. It is what gave them life before they were born and what will receive them when they die. And they treated me like something to be thrown away. She looked at Kosi. You wanted me gone because I was different from you. But everything that grows is different from everything else. That is the point of growing. She looked at Remy. You wanted me gone because you thought my light made yours smaller. But the sun does not dim because of the moon. The forest does not become less because of the field. There is room enough for all things to be what they are. The roots released. The sisters stayed on their knees anyway, not because they had to, but because they were ashamed, and shame is its own kind of root system. In the weeks that followed, the village of Audrey changed. Al did not live in the house anymore. She could not. She was something larger than a house now. She lived in the forest, in the clearing, in the tree that had grown from the pit where she had been buried. But she was not far. The people of Audrey could always find her. They came to her when their crops failed and she would press her hands into the soil and show them where the water had gone underground and how to follow it. They came when a child was sick and she would bring plants that no one else knew, roots with healing in their skin, leaves that drew fever out through the pores. They came when they were grieving and she would sit beside them on the earth and say nothing, but her presence was like a warm hand in yours in the dark. Kosi kept her word. Every morning for a full year, she went to the clearing. She dug and she watered and she weeded. She got dirt under her nails for the first time in her life. At first, she resented it. Then slowly, she began to understand something. There is a dignity in tending the earth. There is a humility in getting down on your knees not to beg, but to work. By the end of the year, Kosi had become a different woman. Not perfect,
but changed.
Remy went back to her husband. She came to the clearing every morning from the next village, walking an hour each way. The walk itself was part of the penance. By the end of the year, she and her husband had made peace. People said it was because she had stopped spending all her energy resenting what others had. Hands that are busy tending their own garden do not have time to pull up their neighbor's flowers. As for Isla's parents, her father Dabi and her mother Yawanda, they grieved for the daughter they had lost, the small, quiet girl who helped with the cooking and sang to herself. And they were also quietly, tremblingly proud of what she had become. Her mother would come to the clearing sometimes in the evening and sit near the great tree and talk to it the way a mother talks to a sleeping child, telling it the small news of the day, asking how it was doing, bringing it a bowl of the pepper soup it had loved as a girl. And sometimes, not always, the leaves would stir, and the air would smell like fresh soil after rain. And Yawanda would smile and say, "So you heard me.
Good.
Now finish your soup." This is the story of Isle and the two sisters who buried her alive. Listen to what it teaches us. The Yoruba say, Isle and I ori sun. The earth is the source of all things. When you disrespect the ground beneath your feet, You're disrespecting the very thing that holds you up. Envy is a shovel. It digs holes. But everything your envy buries will only grow deeper roots. Do not confuse someone's gentleness for weakness. The tree that does not fight the wind does not break. It bends, it roots deeper, and it is still standing long after the storm has forgotten its own name. And this, the world does not need you to be the same as everyone else. It needs you to be what you are, fully and without apology. The forest is not one type of tree. It is all the trees, growing together, each one different, each one necessary. Your sisters may not see your value. Your family may not always understand your gift. The village may call you strange. But the earth knows you. The earth remembers every step you have ever taken on it. And one day, when the time is right, the earth will call you home. Not to bury you, but to become. Thank you for watching. This is Voice of African Stories, and I will see you in the next one. Take care of yourselves.
Bye.